Saxon 68.b. This is translated parabolas and a continuation. We're going to pick up with example 68.3 and we're going to just go through this. And I put it in a lot more depth than what the book shows. If this makes sense to you, feel free to skip through this. But I wanted to make sure we have it as finely granulated as we can on these examples. A parabola has a vertex of -2, 1, a focus of -2, -1. Write the equations for a parabola, the directrix, the axis of symmetry, and sketch it. So first thing we need to do is we need to find out, where's this focus at? Well, the focus they told me is -2, 1, and they told me the vertex is at -2, +1. Well, if the vertex is over the focus, it has to open downward. Otherwise, if the vertex is below the focus, it's going to open upward. So because the focus is below it, I don't know what it's going to look like, but I know it's going to go through the axis of symmetry, and it's going to be centered around the focus, right? And it's going to open downward. That's our first step. The next, we need to find our vertex. Or we have our vertex. We need to take our vertex as -2, 1, and I know the vertex formula is h, k. I can derive from that, well, if that is my h, that is my k. And we're going to use that in just a moment. Next thing I look at is I say the focus was -2, 1. Well, what is focus? Focus is h, k plus p, or h, k minus a negative p. Some people understand that better when I say it. This h, therefore, which we already knew, was -2. And we know that this k plus p, and I know what k is 1. So if k is 1, what's p going to have to be to get to the total of -1? So 1 plus p equals -1. And this is where the book just expected you to just realize what that was. I went ahead and wrote it as a formula and said, there it is, 1 plus p, because that's what k is, k plus p, equals -1. And I know, therefore, that 1 plus p equals -1. Subtract 1, I'll get p equals -2. I'm ready to write my formula now because I have my p. So I use the second formulation of it, which instead of this a, I'm going to use 1/4p because I don't know what a is yet. So y minus k equals 1/4p x minus h squared. And then I go ahead and say, well, what is k? K was 1. What is p? -2. X minus, well, what is the h? A -2. So I'm going to plug that in. And when I do so, I start simplifying this. Y minus 1 equals -1/8, 4 times -2. X plus 2, a negative, right, squared. Then I move the 1 from the left-hand side to the right-hand side. So now I have the formulation that I already understand for the translated parabola. That's y equals -1/8, x plus 2 squared plus 1. Now, what do we know about this? Well, we were already told the vertex, although I can see the vertex hiding in here. And we already know how it's going to open downward. So we're ready to start graphing this. The vertex is at -2, 1. The focus is at -2, -1. And how did I get that? And I skipped over this little section here. How did I know the focus? Well, if I know that the distance from the vertex, they're both at -2, and the focus, and this is a 1 and a -1. How far apart is the vertex from the focus? Well, how far apart is -1 from +1? 2. So it's going to be 2 more away, if you want to think of it that way, from my focus to get to my directrix. And we're going to use that in just a moment. So my directrix is going to have to be at 3. That's because if my vertex is at 1 and my focus and my directrix have to be on opposite sides of the vertex, if the focus is 2 away from the vertex, so is the directrix. So I'm going to add 2 to the directrix, which was 1. That gave me 3. And the reason why I added 2 is that's how far apart these two numbers were right here. So once I do that, I'll have my directrix is y equals 3. I already know my axis of symmetry is -2. I don't really need that. So I start with graphing the axis of symmetry at -2. I put my focus and my vertex and my directrix on there. Well, that pretty much sketch everything out. I know it opens downward, and it's going to open very wide because it's a 1/8. It's going to have to open very wide. That's how I came up with each one of those. I hope that makes sense to you as you go through it. If you need to watch it and figure that out again, or slow it down and stop it, sometimes it helps to actually follow through each one of the mathematical steps on a piece of paper as you do this to be able to graph this appropriately.